talk a little bit about you know, the land and the climate and what has happened in Central Otago. For me, what is particularly interesting is the fact that obviously, you know, many thousands of years ago, that this was all swampland through in here. As in through in here, I'm meaning, you know, all of Central Otago, and that basically what we started to see is that obviously the movement of the Pacific plates, and seeing those plates move. Obviously not this little hill range behind us, but the very mountainous range on the other side of this, being known as the Southern Alps or the main divide, obviously went all the way up through the South Highland. When that was forced up, what we were then able to happen is that all of this land through in here was all drained, and we know that it was definitely swampland because we can even find the odd fossil in here, some shells, and some various shellfish species can still be found not very far from here as well. But the interesting part about that is that when that happened, and obviously the geographic movement of those plates and the land being forced up, that these hillsides around us were all formed, that was all schist rock based, so in a serpentine soil. Obviously, thousands of years after that event, obviously then the glaciers started to, with the very much the ice age took place, and that glaciers that were formed, you know, back in that mountainous range that I referred to before, they actually came all this way. And if you can actually see, I don't know if you can pick it up in the distance, Guillaume, with your camera, but see the pine trees sitting on top of that flat plateau? See up there? So you've got that little hillside, and see those pine trees on that flat plateau? That's where the glacier finished. Okay, so where the glacier's finished over there. But what is very, very interesting for us, you know, because we sit very much in the heel of the valley, or the toe, depending whether which way around you have your feet, all of the weathered glacial soils, with all the wind and the erosion that took place, and the erosion that was happening with the mountains around us, then a lot of the early deposits of the soils through here were very much wind-blown and loose. So when I dig down 3 metres down here, occasionally I can come to what is known as the glacial wash, and then on top of that you've got all the weathering from the mountain range that's happened around us. So this is why Bannockburn is so unique within Central Otago, as one or two other little areas are, is that it's sloping soils from original parent material that is weathered down, and then it's wind-blown loose that is also deposited on that as well. So there's nothing underneath us here, that when I dig and keep digging, we don't find restriction of large rocks or restriction of big heavy clay pans or anything like that. We have these lovely layers of the silt and topsoil on the very sort of 300 to 500 in the top part of the profile, and then we start seeing these lovely finds of silt and sands and gravels and clay working their way down. And what's also interesting is that because the rainfall here is only 380 to 400 millimetres per year. Some years we can get up to 450, but traditionally round about 400 millimetres, 380 to 400 millimetres. Some years we've been as low as 320. That we don't have a lot of clay, because obviously the sand to the silts to the clays, you need rain to obviously create that. So we're not seeing large amounts of clay being developed here. But there is sufficient clay in the soils that to obviously hold and maintain that moisture coming through. The other thing is that the mineralisation of those soils has taken place, and that what we see as we move down through the layers, that with some of the schist rock that is weathered or being deposited as a very small flat rock about this sort of size, sitting on top of that is calcium carbonate, and it's mineralised calcium carbonate, and inside that, I should show you quickly inside, is all the vine roots. Are very much finding a lot of flavour and a lot of interesting mineral componentry.
Is it orange?
No, it's not. It's white. So calcium carbonate. Yeah, very much an active calcium form.
Okay, calcium. Yeah, maybe that was iron. What I saw.
Iron is what you would normally would have seen. And or iron oxide. What you'd see a little bit.
It's not very nice.
No, it's not nice. This is very nice, and it's worked out very good. And that's it. You know, we're the most internal region in New Zealand. New Zealand's a very narrow sort of 3 islands, but 2 main islands, the North Island and the South Island. And where the Central Otago growing district is, obviously we're very central, in the middle of the island. So we don't have really any effect whatsoever from the ocean, from the sea.
Yeah.
And what tends to happen in here is because obviously any factors of weather patterns coming in from the south or from the west will hit the mountainous range, and then can create a wind effect, a firn effect coming through. But what we also see is that we don't get the water. Like the east coast can get a lot of storms coming in off the sea, or the west coast can get a lot of storms. So hence that's why we stay so dry. And in the summertime, that's when most of it falls, and sort of through December and January. We can get 100 millimetres to 150 millimetres then. During the winter, we don't see a replenishment of rain because it falls as snow up in the main divide. So we don't see large volumes of rain at that time of the year. The other part, that because we act a little bit like a desert, and that is that with being so central as the island, and also having a very large mountain range protecting us from the west and the south, but then having another small mountain range protecting us from any easterly factors coming in, we don't get the storms, and we can quite often just get continual very, very long days of sunlight in here as well, without having sort of cloud cover and fog effect. This time of the year in the winter we get the opposite, where what tends to happen is that we will get no weather patterns whatsoever, and so obviously the moisture off the land and from around us will be lifted up into the inversion layer from the cloud cover that is there now, and we can have 1 or 2 weeks where we'll very much just see continual very high cloud cover that'll sit in here, and there's no storms to come through and to take that away. So it can be a little bit gloomy for a couple of months, but a couple of weeks, but overall it becomes a very, very pleasant place to work. And the fun part for people that work here is the activities that they can then do outside of work, with skiing in the winter months, or taking in water sports and a lot of mountain biking over the summer. So fun all round.